Good morning, class.
Good morning.
Okay, so today we're going to be doing an experiment called the bobbing diver. Alright, but before we start, I'm going to talk to you about the scientific method. Okay? Now, this is a kind of new term that I'm having for y'all, but the scientific method is what scientists do when they want to solve a question or want to figure out something about the world around them. So there are many different steps to the scientific method, and the first one would be there would be a question. Okay, so you get proposed a question. It could be, what would happen if I put salt in water? Something simple like that. And then there's also background research, which is what you would do after you get the question. And then there's an hypothesis, and then an experiment, data, observation, conclusion. But what I'm going to focus on currently is the hypothesis part. So in the bobbing diver, we're going to have hypotheses, or y'all are going to make hypotheses. Okay, so when you hypothesize about something, you're making an educated guess. What you're doing is you're taking all of your background knowledge of the topic that you're given and just the information that you're given also that you may not have already known, and you make an educated guess. So let me take this bottle. If I squeeze this water bottle, what's going to happen?
Water's going to come out.
Yeah. So hypothesis statements are usually if-then statements. So if I squeeze the water bottle with the cap off, then
water's gonna come out.
Okay.
You're going to get wet.
So what just happened?
The
Water's on the
fell
floor.
out.
Okay, so was your hypothesis correct?
Yes.
Alright, so you were correct. Now, what I did was I asked the question, what would happen if I squeezed a water bottle? And then, judging by your past experience, where you probably squeezed water bottles or something without a lid and water came out, so you concluded that water would come out. And so we actually did it, and from what you saw, water came out, right? Okay, now what would happen if I would squeeze it with the lid on?
The water
Just be
wouldn't come out.
squeezing water.
Okay, so this is going to bring me to a point, which is a term you may not know, which is water pressure. So what I'm doing is, when I squeeze it with the lid off, I decrease the volume that the water had to have in the water bottle, so the water came out. But since I closed the lid and I squeezed it, what I'm doing is I'm building the pressure in the bottle. Okay? So you're going to kind of be dealing with this in the bobbing diver today. So what you're going to deal with is you're going to have 3 different objects, and what's going to happen is, depending on the densities, the objects are either going to float or sink, and you're going to hypothesize about whether it's going to float or sink, and then we're going to actually do the experiment. Okay? So to remember the hypotheses, I have a little chant for you to do. So I want you to follow this beat, okay? So